Okay.
Welcome to the Just Chrissy podcast. I'm Chrissy McCammon, your host and the owner of Rooted in Wellness. My guest today is Carole Estep, and we have been friends for a long time. I think I feel like I say that about everybody, but we really have. Our children are now grown adults with our grandchildren, and they went to school together, and so we've really known each other for a long time. But Carole owns Revitalizing Wellness in Mercersburg, and we both have a heart for just helping people get well. And Carol's another that we freely share information with each other, and when your heart really is in it to help people. Then you help people, and Carole is one of the kindest people I know. You actually have an interesting history because you were in the allopathic world for a long time as a nurse in different arenas. You were like the head office manager nurse at a doctor's office for how many years? How many, like, between being a nurse and like heading up that office?
I was in the office probably close to almost 20 years
Yeah,
in the
yeah. So
in
you've
as an
seen a
office
lot, and
nurse.
then you were a school nurse for a while. How many years did you do that?
Correct. Yes. That was a combination, probably about 12. I think
Yeah,
about 12. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then what made you go over to the whole more holistic side? Like, what was your turning point?
I ended up having my own health crisis, which I think is what a lot of people, what happens to a lot of people. But I had my own health crisis, and the medical system was kind of finished with me and just said, it's time for you to have a change your life, and we really can't help you out anymore. So I accepted that for a short period of time, and then started digging my heels in and figuring out what I could do. And God put so many wonderful people in my path that I was able to, natural paths that I was able to connect with, and they were able to help me. And once I realized that, oh my goodness, how much healing took place, I was super excited to learn more and more and more myself. So that's kind of where it all started.
Wow, yeah, that's interesting. So, like, I wonder if you can even put into words the transition from the allopathic mindset to the holistic mindset. Like, were you, yeah, I'm just gonna let you talk about, like, what was that transition like for you emotionally, mentally, realizing like that all the things that you had practiced and learned weren't healing people, wasn't healing people.
It was very frustrating, and it was very sad. But when I started to experience the healing myself, and I started to have more mental clarity, and just um, I started experiencing healing, and I was super excited and grateful. And
Yeah.
my mind opened up very, very quickly whenever you actually have those symptoms become better and feel so much better than actually you did. I mean, I feel better. I feel better now than I probably have felt for 15 to 20 years.
Wow.
And so my mind quickly opened up. It really wasn't too hard for me to open up because I was feeling so much better. And I just wanted to share it with everybody else and just say, hey, you don't have to accept whatever maybe has been told to you, or at least let's try some other avenues. Because I'm so thankful and grateful that I did,
Yeah.
um, as well as this natural way of learning, but also spiritually. It really, the combination of both is where I
Yeah.
really found so much healing.
Yeah, I feel like God's really calling a lot of people to learn about taking care of the temple
Mhm,
properly with food, nutrition,
mhm,
get rid of the toxicity.
mhm.
Like, I in your practice, is that what you see too? Like, I could pinpoint like every person has a nutrition deficiency and a toxicity overload.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I'm sure that's what was going on with myself 15 years ago. But absolutely, and I see people like you do. They come frustrated. Not usually, I can't say the percentage, but a lot of people, probably most people, come in a crisis situation.
Yeah.
And I always want, and they're searching and looking, and I totally get it. I was the same person, and I just want to encourage people: don't wait for that. Don't wait for that crisis. Let's go proactive. Let's start looking at your nutritional deficits. Let's start looking at your toxicity now before you get into a situation
Right.
where it's a crisis.
Right. I agree. I was in the same position when I got sick, had no idea that
Mm-mm.
what I was doing was so yeah,
No,
crisis really forces
it
forces your hand.
does.
You either
It
have
does.
to do something or you have to accept that you're never going to feel good.
Right. And someone really showed me grace and just said, Carol, you just didn't know. You just didn't
Yeah.
know. And that's why I try and
Right.
you just didn't. I mean, I didn't know that raising my kids on Hamburger Helper was so
Me either.
terrible, but it was horrible. But I did, and
It was
then
normal though.
it's a shame,
I agree. And then
you
sometimes
know.
like Stan will say, my husband will say, you got to watch that you're not puking information on people because it's like you're so excited. Like when someone like starts to
Yeah.
recognize there might be a different way and you want to give them all that information. But well, today we're going to focus on one subject that I
Mhm.
kind of feel like you have done a lot of different teaching on this. And so I wanted to invite you to come talk to my audience and you'll probably share this with your audience. Um, it's intermittent fasting. What is intermittent fasting? IF. They might just see it as the two initials IF.
True. IF, intermittent fasting. First, I didn't say thank you for having me. It's quite an
You're,
honor and a privilege to be here and joining you. So thank you. First of all, thank you so much. It
you're
really is. It's a
you're
complete
welcome. It's an
honor and a
honor that
privilege.
you're willing to come on and be a part of my podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. I absolutely love intermittent fasting. I'm very, very passionate about it. So I get super excited when I get the chance to talk about it. But what it is really just compressing your eating window. So and also you're going to be using two different fuel systems, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But so let's say, typically we get up in the morning and we maybe eat breakfast around 8 in the morning, and then maybe you're going to do a mid-morning snack, and then you're going to eat at lunch, and then maybe a mid-afternoon and back to dinner. And I don't know if you have a snack before bedtime, but and then you used to hear you needed to do that to keep your metabolism going. You need to have all these little snacks and everything. But what we're finding is that if we can compress those window of what could be 12 hours into an 8-hour window, there are so many health benefits to that. And I always tell people you want to intermittent fast for the health benefits, and kind of a side effect of it is losing weight.
Yeah.
But whenever the passion, you realize what health benefits you have, you're going to want to do it. And it really is, it's doable. It's free. There's not many, health, I don't want to even say diets because I don't consider this a diet. I consider it a way of life.
Tools.
And
Yeah, health tools.
yes, it's tools. It's not a diet fad and things like that.
I agree with you on that. I try to stay away from that word because I feel like our generation, it was all about diets and
Mm,
which meant food restriction. It meant even exercise, like we were doing it all for the wrong reasons. Instead of
yeah,
thinking of a healthy cell and a healthy body, it was like that number on the scale, and we idolize it.
that's right. You're
I
so
tell my
right.
people when I meet with clients, I say, do not, should I be checking my weight? No, do not check your weight every day because you're making your scale on idle. Like we just want to check once a
True.
week and just kind of see like how's the inflammation coming out of your body because that's what it actually is. But go ahead.
No, that's good. I appreciate that. So it's really not as much about what you eat but it's more about when you eat. So there, the most common intermittent fasting, and there's different fast for different reasons, different things. So you can do the most common, which is like a 16-8 hour fast. There's then 2-day fast, 24-hour fast, 72-hour fast, 36-hour fast, and all that. But the most common one is the 16 and 8 window of fasting. And what that would be is that, like I said, compressing your eating to 8 hours during the day, fasting for 16 hours. And the good part is during that 16 hours, you're sleeping.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of time gobbled up with that. So you can pick your 8 hours. Originally, when I started, I was fasting. I would start my eating window at 12 noon, and then I would be able to eat until 8 p.m. And that worked for a while, but then I realized 8 was too late because I wouldn't really eat a meal, but I was trying to eat a snack. I was trying to eat like yogurt and fruit or some kind of protein snack at 8 o'clock to help sustain me. And it was too late. It was too late for me to eat. So I moved my window up to 10 a.m. to 6. That's what I found. I really like that. I've gotten to the habit. I'm not really hungry when I first thing when I wake up. So that's just works well for me. Is it perfect all the time? No. I mean, maybe we'll go out to dinner with somebody and we're eating past, and it's okay. You have to just show yourself
Mhm.
some grace. If you get too restrictive, then things aren't, it doesn't work as well. But if you want to begin this, what I recommend is whatever time you first get up and eat, just slide that time back like 1 hour. If you usually get up and eat at 7, just slide that back to 8 o'clock in the morning. Then, a week later, slide it back another hour so that you're gradually easing your way into that. Or your dinner, if you usually eat dinner at, I don't know, 7 o'clock, let's try and slide dinner to 6 o'clock. So your body's not in a complete shock, and it helps with like your hormones and everything so that you're not in a
Yeah,
complete.
I was going to say, I wanted to ask you what your thoughts were on this. I People who don't fast at all and then all of a sudden decide they're going to do a 2-day fast. Like, I I absolutely feel like you have to train your body and work your way into it. Would you agree?
Absolutely agree. They're gonna, and you don't want to set anybody up for failure, and that's what I would be afraid someone was going to get frustrated, and I don't want anybody frustrated. No, I totally would ease your way into a fasting situation. I definitely would not do a 2 day fast for a while after. I'd be doing the 16/8 for a while before I
Yeah.
would even recommend a 2 day fast.
Well, even for myself, when I didn't realize I wasn't healthy and I wanted to fast for spiritual reasons, and I would get
Mm-hmm.
really sick, and I didn't realize because my
Mm-hmm.
body was already sick that it was
Oh,
causing a reaction in my body. So
yeah.
like, um, you know, train like taking the time to do what you're saying, which is intermittent fasting, and then making the times go longer and
Mm-hmm.
working your way into if you want to do an all day or 24-hour or two-day fast would probably be a
Mm-hmm.
wise thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Yes, I definitely, totally agree. And I wanted to mention, I like to mention this. And back when I worked in the office, like you had mentioned, I was that nerdy person. I always wanted to learn. And always wanted to learn. And the doctor I worked for had all those New England Journal of Medicines. He had the whole shelf full of them. And I would go back and like pull them out after work, and I'd start going through and I'd read them. And I loved it. I couldn't soak up enough information. So I was really excited when I learned that in the New England Journal of Medicine in December of 2019, that edition, it states the authors reviewed more than 85 studies and declared that intermittent fasting should be used as the first line of treatment for obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, neurodegenerative brain conditions, and cancer. It's also stated that intermittent fasting has anti aging effects and can help with pre and post surgery healing.
This is
So,
in a
and then
medical journal.
it was in the 2019 New England.
Why do we not see this being used then?
I, my personal opinion is because whenever you go into a doctor's office, you have 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You're given a 15-minute time period, and it takes about 7 minutes for you to tell him or her why you're there. And then that gives them about 8 minutes to reply. So, first of all, I don't know the reason why, but first of all, there's not enough time.
There's
The
not enough
doctors
time.
don't, they don't have time to educate on this. But yeah, I was like completely shocked when I saw that. I'm like, why don't we hear about it? Why didn't I know about this? And yeah, I thought that was absolutely amazing.
I do
To
think
learn.
you're onto something there though. Like all the doctors and nurses that I have personal relations, they love people and they want to help them. And I do feel like they're trapped in a system where they can't because of that. They're in a system that requires them to, I mean, when I see a client initially, I'm at least 90 minutes
Hmm.
with them.
Right.
I'm sure you
Yes.
probably are too, but
Yes,
by the time you
absolutely.
go over their intake and they don't have that luxury. And then I think
No.
the amount of hours that they work, and then I know the ones I know are doing their notes on their own time. So they don't have time to be looking at the new research, and it is really a sad situation.
It is. It is. It is. So I'm excited about it. So how it actually works is about you have these two fuel burning systems that I never knew about. We have a sugar burning fuel system and you have a fat burning fuel system. And I have worked out of that sugar burning system for the whole 55 years of my life. Now I'm going to be soon 56. But and that sugar burning system is sort of like the what I talked about earlier, where you get up and you eat in the morning, maybe a snack, eat at lunch, eat dinner, and the whole time your insulin levels going up and down, up and down, and up and down, and our body's relying on the glucose to convert into energy. But what happens whenever our blood sugar finally goes down or insulin levels go down, like during the night, it can take up to like 8 hours for a meal to be completely digested, up to 8 hours, not always, but it can. So that would mean like during the night while we're sleeping, our insulin levels coming down. And then what are we tempted to do? Get up in the morning, eat breakfast, and then insulin's back up and down and you're on the roller coaster ride again. But if you fast, in the morning, your insulin level's down and it stays down for that extended period of time. So your body is like, okay, there's no sugar coming in for me to get fuel. What should I do? And it knows exactly what to do because we were never created. I don't believe we were ever created to have access to food 24 hours a day.
I don't either.
Absolutely not. So we were created to, back in our ancestors 100 million years ago, that's a little bit exaggeration, they went out and hunted for food. And
Right.
how did you know you were going to how did you know you were going to get your big harvest that day?
They got them a nice little stroll in while they were looking for the
Yeah,
food
you had to
too.
work. So
Hmm.
you were going on, you didn't eat that morning because you're out. So you're going in a fasted state to go get your harvest. I hate to even talk about what they did, but
Yeah.
anyway, until they killed and then drugged the animal and all that stuff, you had to make sure you had a lot of energy. So God, so kind to us, gave us this fat burning system. So our body knows to go to our liver. Our liver will start creating ketones whenever our insulin level comes down and stays down. Well, or actually, when you're in a ketosis state and ketones are going through your body is so happy. And that energy is actually a much more sustained energy versus the up and down roller coaster with your blood sugar. We all know what it feels like to eat a big meal. Everybody wants to kind of crash afterwards because your blood sugar is coming back down. Well, you don't have that because it's a clean and it's a sustained energy
What
when you're in that state.
what are ketones? I mean, you hear it all the time. Oh, is I'm assuming it's something from the fat burning process.
It is. It's something that
Okay.
is created and made in your liver. It's
Okay.
made in your liver. And ketones are absolutely amazing, and we need ketones. And we can talk about all the increase in ketones and the benefits from that. But our body was made to produce and to be fueled by ketones.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, okay, so we have the two fuel burning, which would be the sugars, glucose, or known as carbohydrates, and then the
Yes.
fat burning system. And then the benefits of, and so we're going to make a eating window. So I do like to go at least 12 hours, but sometimes 14 hours. I do like to have my meal in the morning. With protein in the morning. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but you could always like cut back your dinner hour to 3 or 4
Yes.
if you wanted to. So
Right.
I guess it depends on your lifestyle too, depending on when you work. Some people have night shifts. So
Yes.
they have to figure out
Exactly.
like they have to customize it to them.
That's
Um,
right.
and then the benefits of it.
So many benefits. So the increase in ketones are absolutely amazing. And what that actually does, it's great for first of all, it's great for your mind, which I absolutely love. Your brain needs 50% glucose and 50% ketones to most effective. And so I know I said I've been feeding my brain all sugar, glucose, for the first 55 years. So it's wonderful to have ketones, and that's what we all
I was
need
gonna
for our
say,
brain.
I've heard that you become more alert,
Yes.
more aware. What's the word?
mental clarity. Mental
Clarity.
clarity is
Yes.
what I hear people say a lot. Mental clarity. It improves your memory. It improves your ability to retain new information. Um, and also, it actually triggers the neurotransmitter GABA. So it has a calming effect as
Oh.
well. So it helps with your neurotransmitters as well. I know a lot of people who have some neuro degenerative diseases really thrive off intermittent fasting because they're getting those ketones um, to their brain.
I imagine the cleanup process that happens overnight with the brain is accelerated. I mean, I have
Mm,
no science, but like in my head, I'm thinking, that how the brain shrinks and then it goes in there and cleans everything up.
it's
You're not
amazing.
putting anything in there.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I would think that that would
That's right.
be. Hmm. So okay, so then when you're in the fasting period, the non-eating period, am I
Hmm.
allowed to have coffee?
Yes, you can have coffee. You can have coffee, no creamer or sweeteners, artificial or regular,
Okay.
just plain coffee.
What else can you
Yeah,
have while you're fasting?
you can have water,
Woohoo!
water
Can you put
without
lemon in
anything.
that?
However, pardon me,
Can you put
what'd you
lemon in
say?
that? Lemon?
Lemon is great in it. Lemon is great in it. And of course, if you need electrolytes, you can put, as long as it's not sweetened. My personal favorite is my Celtic salt. I like putting my Celtic salt. You can use that. But really, it's herbal teas and coffee is
Okay.
mainly what's allowed during that fasting time. But like lemon water is great. Yeah,
Okay.
that's great.
Anything else that you can have? So the herbal teas, the lemon water, cup of coffee. So when should you not fast?
When should you not fast? That's a great question. I want to make sure that all women who are menstruating know that they should not be fasting a week before their menstrual period. Your
Can
body
they
need
fast during their period or just the week before?
It's the week before because that's when you need the extra progesterone, you need all of the extra some extra
Hormones.
carbs. And so when we say that, I'm not saying that's permission to go into a lot of junk food or sweeteners. That's sweet potatoes and butternut squashes and more of those
Nutrient
yeah,
dense foods.
progesterone loving foods. That's the time to eat that. So they no, it's not recommended intermittent fasting that week prior to period menstrual period. Yes, you can still fast during your menstrual period. It's just that whenever your body's building up that nice lining inside of your uterus.
Okay, and then so you've been on this whatever 16, 18 hour fast,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden you're going to introduce food into your digestive system. Is there some clarity on like what is the better route to go there with when you're breaking
And
your
that is
fast?
breaking your fast. And it depends on a little bit your reason for fasting. For instance, that will depend a little bit on how you want to break the fast. There's two different really ways that you can break it. First of all, you never want to break a fast with a carb because I made that mistake one time and then you feel sluggish. I just felt sluggish the whole rest of the day. So definitely don't do that. I had my grandkids here and they wanted something with carbs and of course I ate it and that was not smart. But if you are looking to continue to improve your microbiome, then you want to start with like fermented foods, like fermented yogurts, bone broth, kombucha, prebiotic protein powders. So that's a great way to break your fast. And then if you're thinking more about muscle building and that's kind of your goal on proteins is a great way. Eggs, beef sticks, protein shakes, chicken breast, some high protein vegetables. So then another way, actually, though, is if you want to try and continue into that fat burning and maybe extend it a little more, you could you could break it with an avocado, raw nuts, butternuts, bone broth for that as well.
So more
And
like a
I
higher
wanted to,
fat.
yes, a higher good fats. I wanted to say, um, while you're fasting, it's really nice. I know you had a CGM, continued glucose monitor. That would be absolutely wonderful. I do recommend getting a glucometer because
Hmm.
number one, you want to make sure your blood sugar is not dropping too low. And if it's 70 or below, you need to break your fast. That's getting too low. But also once you start to improve your microbiome, it's surprising what you can possibly drink during your fasted time. I know some people after a while can put butter in their coffee. That to me doesn't sound appealing, but some people can do that and it doesn't break their fast. It's all about
I saw,
not increasing your insulin.
yeah, I saw the guy that actually does that coffee that you would buy, and he says when you put the butter in there that you need to whisk it for 20 seconds, like with the little whisker thing. It does
Ooh,
something
that
with
would be
the
good. Yes.
fluid in the cell. So, I mean,
Really?
but I think the butter also is high fat, and so that keeps you in ketosis.
Hmm. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Now, for instance, I like to start my day with I juice ginger, organic lemon, and a little bit of cayenne. So I was just kind of messing around one time, and I thought I want to see what happens to my blood sugar. So I was in a fasted state. It was like I don't know 10 in the morning or something, and I was gonna start eating at 12. And so I took my blood sugar and it was like 125, which okay. And then I drank it and 30 minutes later and it dropped down to like 112. I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh."
it dropped
I
it.
was completely shocked. So then I realized I can have that during my fasted time or I can just start with that and you can then of course when I drank that shot, which wasn't much, maybe 6 ounces, I wasn't hungry. So I was able to extend my fast a little bit longer until I felt hungry
Mm.
and felt like I needed to. So my point is, once you're doing this a while, you don't know. Experiment. Take your blood sugar and try something high fat, as long as it's not sugar. We can't have sugary.
Yeah, I was
Um,
going to say that what I noticed when I did the continuous glucose monitor was that as long as I had a protein, things stayed stable for me. Now, I know different people are different, but I was in shock that just having that protein
really,
first balanced what I had, sugar, glucose wise.
is that right?
Yeah, yeah, it was really
That's great.
interesting. That's like out of everything I learned, that's one of the things I learned. Like I just always will go for a protein first.
Yeah, that's
And it keeps
great.
me from being hungry, but
And yes, absolutely. I did hear where it is supposed to help keep your blood sugar kind of down as
yeah,
well. So
it
that kind of
does.
that makes sense to me too. Good. That was great. I would
Well,
love to get
the
one of those. I definitely want to.
yeah, well, it was okay for the 2 weeks, and then like after I had enough for 6 weeks, and then I was like after 2 weeks I was done. Like I got the information I wanted.
Really? Okay.
I wanted it off my
Okay.
arm. Um, but it was an interesting experiment to learn with.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so okay, so we're breaking our fast depending on what your goal is. Um,
Mhm.
and then the other thing that I had heard, oh, actually in my schooling, was that, when you are giving your system that break, you should try not to give it something that requires a lot of work. So, like doing the shakes, like you said, um, is a good idea because it's already broken down for you. Um,
Can you can you repeat that one more time?
yeah, so yeah, be good for people to hear it again. So one of the things whenever you're having the fast overnight, when you go
Mhm.
to have breakfast, you don't want to go throwing in a bunch of like carbs and something heavy that's going to be a lot of work for you. Want to gently break that fast with the protein drinks or the vitamin drinks like you just said, where it's basically already broken down and your body can start like digesting, but in
Mhm.
a gentler way, and then have your next meal be more work.
Right. I totally agree. I start mine with a protein smoothie and I get about 56 grams of protein in my protein smoothie every morning around 10 o'clock. And I really, I feel good off of that. And then I'm usually just eating my dinner.
Yeah.
And I have a dinner, but yeah, you're right. I think it's much, kinder to our GI system.
So the yogurt that we're making, which is the L reuteri,
Hmm.
that would that be considered fermented then? Is that considered a
Yeah,
ferment? Okay.
it's, yes. We're fermenting that thing 36 hours. Mine's
Mm-hmm.
down there now fermenting.
I probably eat more now
Yes,
fermented than I ever did in my life just because I love that yogurt. But okay,
it is
so
good. It is good.
yeah. Do you have any other helpful hints for the intermittent faster?
helpful hints would be, are you going to get hungry? You probably are going to get hungry. And so, but what I have learned a lot about myself through this, like, am I hungry or am I bored or is this a habit? And I'm finding so much of this is just habits, going to grab something. And
Hmm.
so, they recommend you start to feel hungry. Let's think about something else. Do something fun. Put a song on, dance in your kitchen, find an activity you enjoy, go call a friend, and see if you really are still hungry 30, 45, 60 minutes later.
I think the other interesting thing too is that your brain doesn't know the difference between hungry and thirsty. It doesn't know
Oh,
the
right.
difference.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, get something to drink. Make sure
That's
you're
right.
keeping your
You're
water up.
exactly right. Yeah. And then I throw in some Celtic salt, something like that. Also, something I didn't mention is MCT oil. Some people will add their MCT oil to their coffee and things, and you're getting more fat, and it's helping to kind of maybe help with filling a little bit as well, too. But you're right.
Hmm.
Even just drink some lemon water.
Yeah.
Yeah, add some lemon water into that, and that helps as well.
All right. Do you have any other things that we haven't covered that you want
Well,
people to know?
I'd like to talk about a couple more benefits of
Okay.
intermittent fasting. One of my other favorite benefits is autophagy. I love, love, love autophagy. Autophagy is another something else, another name some people call it is self-eating. And actually, autophagy happens around the hour of 17th hour.
Hmm.
So you need to have a little bit more of an extended fast to get all the benefits of autophagy. But autophagy, what I get so excited about is that our body was created to clean itself up and to help to detox it. So during autophagy, the cells go in, our body goes in and it's checking cells out, and it's like comes across a cell that needs repaired, it will repair it. And then whenever it comes across, it'll keep going down, comes across another cell, and it tries to fix it. And if it actually can't be fixed, the body will get rid of it and it detoxes it itself. And then if it comes along a cell that has disease in it, it will detox that. So when I found that out, that just kind of like blew me away. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. So I was just thinking about like when dogs get sick, how they just kind of lay around and they won't
Oh,
eat.
yes, yes,
Like
yes.
when we're sick, we're like that too, right? We just lay around because our body is actually repairing itself. Like we're not
Isn't that
hungry
amazing?
because the
Yeah,
body's cleaning up itself. So I was
yeah.
just thinking as you were describing that, I thought, well, that's what's happening when
Hmm.
you're. But
Hmm.
if someone is dealing with something, I mean, intermittent fasting definitely would be something to implement into their life to
Yes, absolutely. And
get the damaged cells out because the
yes,
body will
and
use the cell for energy, won't it? The dead
yes,
cells.
it will. Absolutely. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I so if we're thinking about like a 16 and 8 hour window, we're not getting into autophagy whenever you're fasting 16 hours, feasting 8 hours. So what I recommend is throwing in, once you have done this like a week or two, throwing in a 24-hour fast, and then you're going to hit your autophagy. And if you could
Mm.
do that on a regular basis, then like one every week. And when I first heard that, I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't go 24 hours without eating. And then I realized it's just dinner to dinner. That's it. You're not going to go a whole day without eating for a 24-hour fast. You can go dinner Thursday night to dinner. And what I like to do is dinner Friday night to dinner Saturday night. Pick a day that you're going to be super busy. Saturdays are super busy. I'm always busy doing things. And it's easy to throw in. It's not as intimidating as what it sounded to me initially. And a lot of
Yeah.
times I
Yeah.
was accidentally doing 24-hour fast. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get that smoothie after this next client. An hour and a half later, okay, I'm going to get to that smoothie next. And I'm like, well, at this point, it's 3 in the afternoon. I'm just going to wait and eat dinner.
Yeah. Go
So
ahead, wait till
because
6. Yeah.
because you're busy. But so I definitely recommend to get autophagy benefits, you're going to need to do some 24-hour fast. I mean, you can do a little longer fast, but I mean, just throwing in a 24-hour fast
Yeah,
once
I
a
guess
week
that's the
is
other
great.
option too. You could say, hey, once, I'm going to do my normal, whatever, 16 hours, but then one time a week or one time every 2 weeks, I'm going to do like a 24-hour. Do you recommend Do you recommend breaking intermittent fasting after a period of time? Like, for instance, when I do cleanses with people, when I do the functional detox, if I do 21 days with them, after 21 days, I recommend they have a meal of whatever they want to break that routine. Do you recommend that with the intermittent?
You are supposed to keep things fresh and new, shake things up a little bit. Yes, I do. You're supposed to kind of keep your body always not in shock a little bit, but kind of, it's like even for trainers when they're in a muscle workout, they change up the workouts, and the same thing with intermittent fasting, change it up. Because there's I think, forget the exact words, but switching. There's a switching that happens that you need to be changing
I
things. So
think your
you
body
even
would
need to be
become
changing your
complacent.
intermittent fasting times. Yes, it does. Thank you. That's probably was
Yeah.
one of the words I was trying to find. Yeah, so you need to be even switch up your you need to be switching up your intermittent fasting time. I'm 8 to 10 to 6 most of the time, but I need to switch that up. There's sometimes I eat at 8 o'clock in the morning. You need to keep things switching in your body. Yes. Keeps us on our
Well,
toes. Keeps
good
our body on
stuff.
our
Good
toes.
stuff. Is there anything else that you
Another
think is
a-
important? Go
another
ahead.
yes, another thing is and just like you, I see clients all the time coming in when I do the scans coming in and their insulin level is stressed. And I think this is an absolutely great way that we can lower our insulin level. Whenever we're doing the roller coaster all day of up and down, our baseline of our insulin ends up becoming too high. It never is able to come down and stay down. And I think this is a wonderful way with people that are trying to get their A1Cs down and get you want to prevent insulin resistance, and know exactly why that's is a precursor to a lot of other things. So I think this
Yeah.
is a wonderful way of helping get our insulin level down and stay down, getting the
Yeah.
baseline
Yeah.
back down. So that is another big advantage of the intermittent fasting as well. Yeah.
Good
And something
stuff.
else that
Yeah,
was,
that's true.
yeah, it's also just like we're getting our insulin level down, we're also kind of getting doing a reset of our dopamine levels as well. Because when we're constantly eating, we know we're getting dopamine hits, just like scrolling on Facebook, scrolling on it, we're getting dopamine hits, dopamine hits, dopamine hits. And then we can kind of, when we take away at least the fasting, take away all the eating, it's a great time. And actually, neuro pathways do open up in your brain, and we are able to kind of reset our dopamine so that we don't constantly need that.
A
Because a lot of times we're eating
requirement.
for, yes, we don't need we get dopamine fix when we eat, so we're learning
Yeah.
that we're becoming more dopamine sensitive. Great ways to really reset dopamine pathways is a 48-hour water fast. That
Wow.
if you really know you're having some serious issues with that, that is an alternative for you as well.
I wonder how it affects. Have you read any studies or have you read anything about how it affects people who have like ADHD?
I think no, I haven't read studies. I'll be honest, but I think it would be
Well, I'm just thinking about the
a
whole
great tool.
dopamine connection, like if you're
GABA.
an adult with it, it might be worth trying.
Absolutely. The GABA, I mean,
Yeah.
think of the calming effects of that. Yeah,
That would
I
be an
think that'd be
interesting
great.
study to do. Let's see how many of our clients are willing to
Let's do
volunteer.
it.
And we'll do a
We
study
want
with
to,
them.
yes, we want to hear about it for sure. Absolutely. And also for our microbiome. It's absolutely wonderful for our microbiome. And actually, after like 24 hours, you start to create your own new intestinal stem cells. And how exciting is that? Yeah,
Oh,
how exciting. People are paying a lot of money for stem cells, and we could actually make them ourselves. But even with the microbiome one and in your intestinal ones, you start after 24 hours. Now, if you have a very serious condition, you want to really reset your microbiome and really get those stem cells working, it would actually be a 5-day water fast for that.
okay.
But even just a 24-hour one here and there, you're getting the benefits from that as well.
So
Yeah.
if you're not well, the longer you can go, the more benefit you're going to get.
Yes, our body actually gets stronger with less food, not weaker. We often, I always was told you got to eat, got to eat, got to keep your energy up, you got to eat, and we go back. I think about going back to times whenever we had to hunt for food. I mean, the more time you had to hunt for food, your longer you were without food. So, but God gave us that sustained energy to be able
Yeah.
to do some of the hardest things.
Well, and the human body, they're now finding, and this is interesting because we should know this because Jesus did it, but the human body can go 40 days without food.
That's right. That's right.
So, it's you obviously you want your water because we are made of dirt and water.
Amen.
You
That's
know,
right.
if we don't have our water, we're gonna go back to dust. But yeah, so very interesting.
One more interesting thing about your microbiome that I found out when studying this is that there are two microbiomes in your gut lining, and I apologize for those that can pronounce words better than me, but two of them are Bacteroidetes and Firmicutes. Have you heard of these?
I have not, I don't think.
So these are two microbes in your intestines, and if they are out of balance, if there's been studies that have shown if they're out of balance, if someone that's out of balance and someone that's balanced and you feed them the exact same food, the person that has these two particular ones that are out of balance will not lose weight. And this person over here who has a balance will lose weight. So there are some, yeah, so we want to definitely clear that up. I was blown away. I'm like, there are people, and I know there are people that really, really, really struggle with losing weight. And it's those two microbes in particular, if they're out of balance, it doesn't matter. You will have a much, much, much harder time
So
losing
how do you
weight
get them back in balance then?
by feeding them lots of fiber, by fasting. The fasting gives your body a time to your intestinal time, a time
To reset.
to rest, to reset. Yes,
Can
reset
you
it all.
can you send me those two microbes so I
Absolutely.
can add it to the description
Yes, absolutely. I sure will.
for people that
Yeah.
want to look at that?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
I thought
Yeah,
that was really interesting.
yeah,
Me
yeah.
too.
A lot of people struggle with the weight. Even can be very healthy, do all the right
Mhm.
things, and
Absolutely.
struggle.
Absolutely. Yes.
So it could be a key for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I thought that was really interesting.
That is. Well, if anybody has questions, they could always feel free to reach out to you. I'll put your contact information in the description of the podcast. Do
Oh,
you have
great. I
any
appreciate
last
it.
minute wisdom you'd like to share?
Mhm. I don't think of anything. I would just say give it a try. Give it a
Yeah.
try. Why not? It's free. You're not having to buy anything. You're not really having to sacrifice a whole lot. And it teaches you a lot about yourself. Like I learned about myself. I'm like, I had to have a lot of conversations like, no, at 10 o'clock at night, you should be in bed. You don't need to grab something on the way to bed. And it taught me a little bit more about my willpower, and it's worth it. It really is. I feel really good doing this. This is I think, one of the biggest tools in my healing journey. And I'm just happy to share it with anybody else.
Yeah. So if you think about like if you have supper at 4, well, 4 o'clock in the morning's 12 hours, 8 o'clock would be 16 hours. That really doesn't seem too hard.
It's doable. It's really
Yeah, it's
doable.
doable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
build
is.
up
It's
to it.
just, it is. It is. Yep. But
Just disciplining. My word this year is
mhm,
discipline, like disciplining myself to get my workouts in and not sit at my desk working too much, blah, blah, blah. So I think that intermittent fasting is also disciplining ourselves.
I agree. I
Well,
agree.
thank
I agree.
you. Thank you, Carol, for coming on and sharing this with us. I appreciate you
Oh, my
carving time out of
pleasure.
your busy schedule to
Absolutely.
help people learn about intermittent fasting.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, great.